good.
Comfortable back there? I swear I'm a good driver. You're taking a lot of risk letting a firefighter drive you
I
around.
know.
That's,
And he's in the back seat.
You know,
I know.
There's no lights of siren on.
No. Hey, welcome into Carpooling with Ben. Folks, there's this terrible stigma going across the entire country dealing with PTSD, suicide, depression, and it really affects first responders in a way that is unique because the casual common person may not understand what that person is going through. Joining me in the car today, a bit of more serious episode, but I promise we'll try to have some fun a little bit. Maybe even a lip sync challenge. I don't know. We'll see. No guarantees. In the front seat, we have Lee Baker of the Code 9 Project. In the back seat, Sergeant Matt Hurley of the Mass Art Police Department. Folks, thank you so much for joining me in the car today, and really for coming down to Rhode Island because. This is a national organization. People may not realize that. What is the Code 9 Project?
Well, first of all, thanks, Ben, for having us. The Code 9 Project is a national nonprofit that provides education, training, and advocacy for the prevention of PTSD and suicide in the first responder community.
So first responders including
corrections, police, dispatch, EMS, fire, and even the military, because there's such a crossover in the first responder.
It's interesting you mentioned dispatch because a lot of times we forget that that's really the first line. While they're not physically there, they're on the phones.
Yes.
And that can really affect them.
Yes.
How do you guys do your work with the project, with the foundation, the organization? How do you implement what you're doing and the research? Just kind of give it an overview there.
Sure. So just a brief overview very quickly of how we got started. I'm a co-founder, and my other co-founder is Deborah Louise Ortiz. She started, she made a documentary called Code 9 Officer Needs Assistance, which basically exposes this stigma for what it is. It's a documentary with officers that lost their job due to PTSD. Her husband is a former New York State trooper who had severe PTSD, and her family was greatly affected by it. She was referred to me. I'm an NLP practitioner. She was struggling with absorbing all of this information to make this documentary. She interviewed hundreds of officers, and that had a big effect on her. So her co-producer referred her to me, and she found success with the help that I provided for her. And because I deal with languaging patterning and whatnot, she asked if I would advise her on the final stages of this documentary to make sure that the language wasn't too triggering, because the content's very heavy. And I watched her film, and what she didn't know, she started this project, it took her 5 years to finish. And what she didn't know is at the inception of her project in 2010, I lost a very close family member who was law enforcement and a former a combat veteran. And before his passing, he had asked me to make a promise that I would do something. He called it with my gifts at the time, and I made a promise. When somebody's in that vulnerable state and you're looking eye to eye, that promise is pretty serious. I didn't know what it was at the time, Ben, but during his experience as what I thought was a cathartic process, I had written a program. At the time it was called Postures for Police, and it was a stress education program. And from 2010 until 2014, when I met Deb, it went from closet to closet as I moved to put it up on the shelf. I watched her film, which was essentially bringing this stigma and the job and the effects the job have on law enforcement and the first responder community out in the open. And at that moment, as I was watching the project, I went, oh, there's that promise, and took down the program, and that's how Code 9 came to be. So from there, we launched. We had a police chief who's now retired from Arizona, who had experienced some departmental suicides and state suicides and was very, very serious about officer wellness. Chief John Meza, who's part of our team now, he piloted our programs, and we started from there. I've written the command staff program, a first responder program, a family program, because the family is a unit, and no matter how much training first responders get, if the families aren't educated as well, a lot of support at home can be very unsupportive, not intentionally, just because the family members don't have the tools to be able to understand how unique these careers are, and what they're bringing home, what their spouses are bringing home and dealing with.
Well, it's interesting you talk about the training.
Yeah.
Sergeant, when an officer or a prospect goes through the police academy, whether it be a state police academy or a municipal police academy, there really is no training for the family and how to deal with their element of their loved one going into the law enforcement profession, even through fire academy or through the training to be a dispatcher or military. It's kind of left upon them to possibly do their own research or figure it out on their own. What is it like offering this training to family members of law enforcement? How vital a role does that play?
It's an essential role.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, many departments, it's a 2-hour in-service or a 5-hour in-service of mental health training, and that's it. And from your own personal experience, I'm sure you can understand that the stressors of the job require more tools than just a 2-hour or 4-hour lecture. And the same holds true with family members. When behaviors start to change, the first signs are noticed by your closest family members. And if family members don't understand what those signs are, they can be misinterpreted, and that's where the family starts to fracture.
Wow. Well, that's so vital. So how does the program get started with a department? So if any police chief out there or community leader, whether it be a mayor, a town council president or whatever, they're interested in implementing this program, even starting the whole process, how does it work? What's the process? How does that all flow?
So we are not a solicitous organization. All of the trainings that we provide, all of the advocacy, including assisting states with passing legislation like Florida and Arizona, all of that is done by contacting us directly. They just reach out, they find us on social media or on our website, code9project.org, or phoning us and making contact. Or we have team members and ambassadors, much like Sgt Hurley, all over the country, and many times, because they're public figures, we have them on our social media. Matt hooks us up with whoever's interested.
Sgt Hurley, you're kind of fulfilling the role as the boots on the ground. What does it mean to you when a department comes to you or somebody comes to you and says, hey, what could this organization do for us? How does that conversation go, and what does that mean to you?
I'm fairly new as an official ambassador, but prior to being appointed as one, I had a few officers and a couple high-ranking officials at other departments reach out, kind of asking what the program was about. So it was very important that I had some good information from a solid source to give them, and I think it's very important for the education to get out there for command staff and officers as well. So for me, being able to do that, I definitely think that's a great opportunity for myself to be able to help out in any way I can.
And Ben, if you recall, I said part of our mission is advocacy, and
Sure.
Something that Sgt Hurley did that was groundbreaking is he was the first person to create a police patch, and much like the challenge coins, patches are something that is important to the law enforcement community. He created the first PTSD suicide awareness patch for the Code 9 project.
That's very impressive.
Yeah.
The training can be heavy in and of itself. PTSD isn't solely a byproduct of a gruesome scene or a situation. There are a lot of different factors that come with that contribute to it.
Absolutely. There's past experiences, maybe your childhood. There's relationship stressors. There's financial stressors. There's not one single element to this thing called PTSD. And let me just be clear, our programs aren't for individuals that have PTSD. Suicide and PTSD is the far end of the spectrum of of the journey of a stress career if tools and training and resources aren't provided. Peer support, mental health and wellness training, ongoing support and resources available and confidential for individuals that are in stress careers to refer to. These types of things aren't spoken about and offered freely. There's a stigma to it. There's sometimes consequences that are unfair and, from my personal perspective, illogical. You know, your career, your assistance shouldn't be at the expense of your career when we're asking first responders to do extraordinary things, not once, not twice, but every day.
Day in, day out.
Day in and day out as their job.
And it's one of those things where it's thrown on a lot of times. So a lot of these guys and girls that have been on the department for a number of years, all of a sudden it's like, okay, now you're going to intervene in this or that. Years from now, that may be incorporated into a training module, but you're just getting it thrown at you in the middle of your career. So really, it's a prevention, and it's being healthy up until that point.
That's right. And you know, stress, the effects of stress show up in many ways. They can show up physically, physical symptoms. They can show up behaviorally. They can show up emotionally. They can show up all three, like we talked about a few moments ago. They can show up with relationship struggles. They can show up with addiction. They can show up with financial situations. You know, we as human beings, if we aren't being given the proper resources, we're drawn to what we call maladaptive coping mechanisms without even realizing it.
Sgt Hurley, what has been your experience to date with, I know you're a new ambassador, but what has your experience been in learning this process and learning about the Code 9 project?
And learning about it, I've been opened up to a whole lot of information, and any time that I speak with anybody from the project, it's, you know, more information about, you know, new things that are in the works, or, you know, different resources that we have available to us. So it's just really exciting to know that there are resources and education out there to help not only police officers, but first responders as a whole. Really something that needs to be given a lot more attention to, for sure.
The unfortunate stigma is a lot of times it's, if you just don't talk about it, it'll go away. It doesn't go away.
Right.
Avoidance doesn't make it go away. No. And silence isn't an elixir either. You know, it's always, give it time. Time does not make things like this go away.
If people want to get more information, if they want to learn, again, I think it's an important element. You mentioned you're not a solicitation kind of company. You're not out there actively looking for it. Actually, I reached out to you. I found you through just some networks on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So talk to me about the various channels that people can use to reach out and get a hold of this organization.
Sure. I want to give another shout out to my co-founder, Deborah Louise Ortiz. She is...
We miss you, Debbie.
Yeah.
Come soon. We'll take you for a ride as well. It's an Uber with dignity.
She is outstanding with social media. You can contact us, and that's how, like I said, that is truly how we've grown, and how organizations and departments have contacted us through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And we do have our traditional website, which is informative. That's code9project.org. Certainly, you can contact us there. But social media has been very powerful in spreading our work and connecting us to departments that are in need. We don't do this for the spotlight or the credit, so to speak. We do it because we are genuinely 100% committed to saving lives and changing the culture, so that training, ongoing training, whether it's ours, whether it's other types of training, is a standard in every department, in every state, and in every federal and local agency. And we won't stop until that happens.
That's great. Lee Baker of the Code 9 Project, Sergeant Matt Hurley. Sarge, this is your opportunity. We're on social media. Do you want to call out any other departments for the lip sync challenge? I mean, have at it. I mean, this is your opportunity here.
No, that's okay.
You don't want to call out
I'll leave everybody in the
Randolph or or Has NYPD done one yet?
Yes.
What's going on? All right. Well,
Yes.
I think they need to do one every 1,000 officers. So I want 38 videos. That'd be great.
Okay.
There's my challenge to you. Good luck.
All right.
Folks, thank you so much for joining me in the car today. If you want to learn more about them, you can find all the links and info. It's truly a great project. And you may not be a police officer or a first responder yourself, but a family member or an extended family member, please share this information with them. It is so critical. Putting the end to the stigma would be the greatest thing that could happen.